Good day, everybody. I hope that you are vibrant, you're healthy, you're doing well, and that you're looking forward to a brilliant week ahead. Today, we're going to touch on a topic that I feel is more important than a lot of the things we prioritize in our lives. And whether you're there yet or not, I think that the subject we're talking about today is quite relevant to everybody. Today, we're talking about parenting for legacy. Whether you're a parent already, whether you have children or not, I think this subject of looking at parenting for legacy is so critical to who it is that we are. And a lot of people think that to be a parent is to parent only the children that they have given birth to or who are biologically theirs. But my take is that we parent even children who are not ours. We parent our nieces and nephews. We parent our godchildren. We parent the people that God has brought under our care, our staff, some of the colleagues that we are, managing and leading. I'm not saying that you parent them in that sense, but parenting is a responsibility that goes beyond our biology and biological children. But even on the front alone of being a biological parent or having legal care over a child, it's important that we look at how we are parenting for legacy. This goes back to the source. It goes back to the beginning. And the beginning is asking yourself, what is your responsibility? What is your role as a parent? A lot of people, parenting happened on them. They conceived, found they were pregnant, they had a child. And both, the man and the woman become parents overnight and they begin to parent. Sometimes you actually planned the parenting, but you didn't necessarily plan it from a perspective of why do I want a child? What role do I have? What's my responsibility as a parent? A lot of people go into, I think we're ready to have a child. I think we have now a lot of money. We are okay financially. I think we're in a space of our life when we can be able to bring in another life, care for a life. Some people go into it in that perspective. Others go into it as something to fulfill their time. They're idle, they're lonely, and they decide, I need to adopt a child or I need to have a child so that I can fill in my time. I can become busy. I can get rid of loneliness. The reasons are endless. But this is a good opportunity, whatever the reason. And some indeed were very conscious. They thought about their responsibility and role as a parent and went into it that way. That's great. Whatever it is, wherever we are at as parents, I'd like us today to look at parenting for legacy. What is a legacy we want to pass down and to put into our children? What we want to make sure that they inherit? What is the role that we have and the responsibility to be able to bring forth life, nurture that life, and ensure that that life is manifesting the fullness of who they're created to be? Right? I said, let's go back to the source and the beginning. God is the giver of this beautiful gift of children, which means God himself, the maker, the source of life, had a unique plan for that child. Not you, even though you think that you're the one who determined that let's have this child now. Prior to that child showing up, there's a bigger calling and purpose beyond you, beyond both of you as parents, man and woman, that child has. There's a bigger, higher purpose for that child. So what I would like us to be doing when I say go back to the beginning, go back to the source, is go back and connect to the source of life, to God. And with each child he blesses you with, ask him, try and understand, begin to discern who this child is, what is their unique calling, so that you can then draw from that what your responsibility and role is, which is to nurture, to equip, to create an enabling environment, and to support the fulfillment and optimal expression of that purpose inside of that child. Now, this conversation is going to shift a lot of things around and about us, because a lot of parents think that they own children. They think the children are theirs. You're just a custodian of this child. You're taking care of this child on behalf of the Maker, who is the source of the life of this child. A lot of us feel that we have control of who the children become, of what careers they take, of what character and temperament they become. That in by no means is limiting the responsibility of nurture, imparting values, teaching good behavior, discipline. All those are great. They're part of the roles and responsibilities. But all these should be working together to support the fulfillment and the expression and manifestation of who this child is. Which means in your engagement on a daily basis, from the day the child is born, a lot of people think they're going to start interacting with the child on their career, on what they want to do with life, on their assignments when they're adults, when they're 18. Because on the world plane, that's about the time they're about to finish high school. They're starting to make decisions about their future, the careers they want to take, the path they want to choose. That's when we want to engage. I would like to shift that perspective a little bit and encourage us to begin to engage with this assignment of this child from the day they are born. Begin to understand who they are uniquely. Don't compare your children to other siblings, to other children that you have, their siblings. Don't compare your children to other children around. Begin to design, understand, and engage with them from the uniqueness of who they are, their temperament, their character, their talents, their gifts, their own developmental process. They're people who want to fast track walking, talking, the way they eat, based on how other children are developing. Other than what's extraordinary, there's just general milestones that children need to be taking. Where there is room for concern, you can take the steps that are required. But don't go into a place where you're comparing your child like for like with other children. But rather start to design from the onset, from the minute they're born. In fact, for those who are more intentional, even from the minute they're conceived. Because the minute they're conceived in the wombs of their mothers, there's already life. There's communication that can go on. You can play music. You can speak to the child. You can make declarations over the child that begin to shape the entire destiny of that child. But for us, the masses, who don't want even to go that extra mile, I'd say from the minute these children are born, begin to engage with who they are. Begin to start understanding their characters. My mom would laugh with my aunties and start telling me how they would look at me and my sister and my brother. We're 11 months apart, so we had 3 cots, 3 chairs. We were always 3, like triplets, And so when they put us to sleep, they would laugh and say how we all behaved differently. This one did this one did that, this one did that. And when you just had this on the wall, boop, they knew this child had just finished the milk and thrown the bottle. I mean, it's so interesting that they were looking at the uniqueness and the character and the temperament. And when we were adults, they'd say, yeah, I'm not surprised that person did that. When they were a baby, this is what they used to do. They would express themselves. They would be, standing ahead of the pack and making sure that people understood what they needed. And this is what they would do. So let's begin to interact with the character and the personality of these children, our children from the onset, right? We're parenting for legacy. What is a legacy that we want to leave? Do we understand who we are as people, individuals, who we are as parents, and who these children that God has given to us are? Are we nurturing them to become the fullest expression of who they have been created to be, so that the choice for school is dependent on who they are? If we can begin to design and perceive their calling early, then even the choices we make will not be driven by how much money I have or don't have. It won't be driven by whose child is going to which school. It won't be driven by the neighborhood of that school. It'll be driven by which school creates the best environment for this particular child of mine to nurture and to optimize who they have been created to be. I was challenged. We as a family had to see, when we began to parent, we used to look at our children in terms of also ease, like let them all go to the school we feel is best, convenient in terms of distance, timing, accessibility, quality of education, those things that we all look at. And, with the subsequent children that were being born, we knew automatically that's the school they will go to. But along the journey, it became clear that what works for one may not necessarily be what works for another. That we have to go out of our comfort zones and our selfish, self-seeking interests and convenience to look more for the environment that nurtures the best environment for who that child uniquely is within the constraints and the availability of what we have. Okay? So begin to nurture that. When they begin to choose their careers or even to show up in their areas of interest, don't dictate. Always come into the discussion from a perspective of understanding who they are called to be, and start helping and guiding those choices, even to make them aware of what it is you see they're created for. Not from a point of dictating, but from a point of love and understanding and being open-minded. If it was up to me, I'm primarily, more scientific. Okay, I have a balance of different gifts across the arts and the sciences, but being very strong in sciences, my parents being very strong in sciences and doctors and things like that, it's very easy to start to dictate that we want our children to be engineers and doctors and scientists and things like that. So when you have a child showing up and saying they want to do sport for a career, you're looking and thinking, sport as a career? Are you serious? Where's the money? Where's this and that and that? In the constraints of your context, your society, what you perceive to be the jobs available for earning income, those things are important, but they should not be the drivers of the decisions, but rather who they are that plugs into society. What kind of legacy do you want your children to have? What kind of legacy do you want to leave as a parent? What kind of legacy do you want your children to leave behind? What kind of godly inheritance, transformational, legacy? What kind of things do you want to leave behind when you're long gone and when your children are long gone off the earth? So as we begin our week in our day-to-day, activities, when we are looking at our relationships across with our nieces and nephews, with our own children, with children we have legal custody over, let's begin to make sure that whatever it is we are pouring into them, whatever advice we're giving, whatever support and direction we are instructing, is guided from a place of parenting for legacy. Parent beyond your limited interest and your self-seeking, interest. Parent from a perspective of trying to be an enabler of what God intended for the children that He has brought your way. So I pray that you do have a blessed week, and that your perspective of parenting will have shifted from this moment on, and that you're intentional in what it is that you're passing forward. Bless you.